First of all, really appreciate being here because being a Rangers fan takes me back to my childhood. I was actually born in Kinnan Park. I went to Lamhouse Street Primary School. My dad came here in 1947 before partition. I was born here. So one could say that I was born into supporting Rangers because all my pals supported Rangers. So that's the main reason I supported Rangers. That all my school friends they supported Rangers, so I just tagged on, and that's where I got my love of the club.
What were maybe some of your first experiences? Did you come to games as a young fan?
The first game I remember actually was a under-16 schoolboys game at Ibrox, and I actually fell off the wee wall and my nose burst. And that was a big experience. That was my first game. I remember it well because of me falling off the wee wall. So that was the first time I'd been in Ibrox, and I was really taken aback. That's where it all started. And then once I got into my teenage years, going to Bellhouston Academy, whose headmaster actually was the director of Rangers, George Brown, we started coming to games with my friends. It was a good experience.
What was it like coming to Ibrox in those days? Who were the players that you maybe looked up to and you enjoyed watching?
Well, I actually watched a phenomenal Rangers team. Richie, Shearer, Caldo, Gregg, McKinnon and Baxter, Henderson, Willoughby, Forrest, Barrant and Wilson. So that's my heroes at that time. And later on, of course, we had Colin Steen, Ali McCoy and the current players. So yeah, I followed it through.
And from your time following Rangers, who are maybe some of your favourite players from over the generations?
Well, as long as you don't tell Ali McCoy, my best thought out players that I loved and still do was wee Willie Henderson and wee Davy Wilson. But please don't tell Ali McCoy.
When you come to Ibrox nowadays, then how does your experience differ now from when you first started coming to the club?
I think the biggest difference is that it's an all-seated stadium now, whereas then it was all standing, and now you're virtually fixed on wherever you sit. That's where you sit throughout the game. Whereas in the earlier days, especially for youngsters, it was good because you would go from one end of the ground to the other. Whatever side Rangers were kicking into, that's where you wanted to see all the goals go in.
Obviously, you're the chairman of the Ali Bayat Society. Tell us a bit about your work there.
The Scottish Ali Bayat Society is actually a Muslim charity organisation, which is from the Shia tradition. And a number of years ago, our community decided we would do a wee bit more outreach work in making awareness of our community being here, because a lot of Islamophobia kicking in, racism, and just like any community or country for that matter, everyone gets the blame when it's really nothing to do with them, and they're good, loving citizens. Then we just wanted to showcase that football came into the scenario where we would do our outreach work. So we got involved with the SFA, the SPFL Trust, and then we got involved with some of the member clubs, Rangers and other members of the SPFL Trust.
The experiences perhaps of someone that came from your community of coming to games, how has that changed over the years? How's maybe that developed?
I think that's probably the biggest development, because when I was young I wasn't allowed to come to the game. The communities were just fresh and they didn't understand the football. It was just unsafe for us to come, but it wasn't really unsafe. It was actually good. We used to get a lift over. We'd get a lift over. Although it was quite big, some guys said, we need to get a big lift and just stick me over the turnstile. So that was it. But nowadays, it's different. I mean, because of my experience as a kid, I would never stop my children from going, or grandchildren, going to any game or any supporting any sport or any team, and that's a fact. We actually do that. My kids actually and grandkids come to Ibrox. So we're actually third generation the ardent supporters of the club.
The club is obviously, working so hard in inclusiveness and diversity. What have you made perhaps of some of the coverage of the club over the last couple of weeks? Perhaps off the back of the club winning the league. Perhaps the club's been accused of being a closed shop just for one community. That doesn't really seem to tie with your experiences, and I guess the experiences of so many thousands of Rangers supporters who come from a wide variety of different communities in the modern age.
I think that's actually a good question, because that is not the case where it's just a one community club. It actually isn't. Even in the early days, in my time, it wasn't a one community club, although it did have its difficulties. There's no point hiding that there was problems, that there was issues, but they didn't necessarily have to be addressed, because we were just in a very, very small minority of supporters. But as time has went on and contemporary Scotland has grown, then I think Rangers Football Club has grown along with these ideas, and it has the supporters from every part of the world probably.
The Everyone Anyone campaign is relatively new for Rangers Football Club, launched just 2 years ago. How important do you think that has been to portray this obviously fantastic image of how Rangers now operates, in terms of every single person from around the world is welcome here, no matter your background, and this is very much a modern football club with a very modern outlook?
It's probably one of the best things I've ever seen Rangers do, doing such a project in which everyone, anyone, and for me, being part of that was quite emotional, because that was proving the point that Rangers had now grown into a mature sports club that was a football club, and it was part of the Scottish, British, European institution, global institution, because it's a global sport. But we've had our players play for Scotland, for World 11s. So that highlighted the beauty of the game.
Back to the football, Rangers, of course, league champions. Having yourself, you've watched through all these generations, the tough times, the good times. What did it mean to you to watch Rangers lift 55 this season?
I think that's a great privilege to witness. I actually witnessed when Graham Souness won the league for the first time after many a moon. And Mark Walton was in that team, so that was a nice wee touch for myself personally. And today, or this season, winning it again, it's just been awesome. And we're football supporters, and we're passionate, as is other supporters of other clubs. But we're here talking about the Rangers, and we're passionate supporters, and we're united. Education needed in some sections of our support, and that's where everyone, anyone will do its job.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mark Walters there, which the documentary with Mark Walters is fresh in the mind. When you look at the Rangers team of 2021, which is full of players from, again, around the world, different cultures, different races, different religious backgrounds, how proud does that make you, that it's just such a multicultural, diverse Rangers team that we've got today?
Well, you've actually got a very diverse football team on the park. You actually have diverse workers working within the stadium, within the club, and you actually have very diverse supporters. We're from the Shia tradition, and we actually celebrated a pilgrimage walk, which started in Paisley. Because we're faith orientated, it started from Paisley Abbey over to St Mirren Cathedral. We walked, was one of our members actually made, my younger brother, who's also a Rangers supporter. He actually physically walked from Paisley to Glasgow Cathedral, and one of the stop-offs was the Prince of Wales Hospice, Govan Police Station, and also Ibrox Park. and we were welcomed here by your director of the foundation, and well received. And we actually got iconic pictures taken with a traditional Islamic, the iconic flag.
We've spoken then about how much Rangers has developed in so many different ways over the years. What more do you think, or what other ways would you like to see the club continue to develop over the coming years?
I think one has to pay tribute to Stuart Robertson. I think his genuine approach towards the club and its supporters and everything about the club, if you're ever in his company, you can see the honesty of the man. And that what helps people like myself to realise that this is not just ticking the box for the club. This is a genuine effort to make us everyone and anyone but be the best team in the country.